zone here and that's the scoring zone at that side, the other team has the advantage, right? So you want to look at ways, right, how can we negate that advantage for the other team, all right? And there's several different ways you could do it, but I think it would be very naive just to leave it like that and set up where you have less space at your side, okay, and there's less space at their side where you're scoring and more space at that side, okay? So one thing I would suggest to do that you can neglect it pretty much straight away is that you bring out, so David Spearman here, all right? So 15 is back there, so you're the black team here. You bring out your 15 out to midfield, right? Now, what's that going to do? This fella has a choice here. Very, very rarely, lads, would you see a team would have two sweepers back here, right? So what's two probably going to do if you bring 15 out to midfield? Follow, all right? Now all of a sudden, if two goes out to midfield and he follows 15, look at the setup then. You've three fellas midfield, that's even. You 6 defenders, Dave 6 forwards, you 6 defenders, you 6 defenders, Dave 5 forwards, you 6 defenders, Dave 5 forwards. So both teams then are on even footing straight away, right? So instead of having Dave have the advantage, they have the even footing straight away. Now, in my opinion, the key to making this work, lads, is that you have to train with it all the time. So you have to practice it in training. You can't just on the day say, right, we'll bring out the corner forward, they're playing a sweeper, and he's never played midfield before in his life, all right? That's not going to work. Or if this fella's never played as a sweeper, I would never say before, if he only plays sweeper every now and again, that's not going to work either. So you want to introduce in training as much as you can, small-sided games where you have a spare man, a spare defender, and obviously larger-sided games then, and how to avoid playing to the sweeper, all right? So another thing we're going to be working on today when we go into drills, the sweeper zone, lads, he's going to cover roughly edge of the D, maybe out around to the 45 to here. So this is the kind of the no-go zone where you want to play the ball, right? So if you're the attacking team and David Spearman here, this is the no-go zone, and I've it marked here in yellow, and I think it's a good way to train, lads, to mark out that zone in training, especially at the start when teams aren't used to it. If you're working with younger players or it doesn't matter who you're working with. So this is the no-go and delivery zone. You can't deliver the ball in here. So, and Eddie's going to be speaking about it later as well. To avoid doing that, lads, you want to be delivering from the platform here, so you can go either to the wing or go behind the sweeper or go here in front of the sweeper or run at him. All right? Any questions on that so far? Okay, so what we're going to do, lads, we're going to set the lads up here at a small sided game just with an extra defender, and then we're going to go into a larger game then, all right? Lads, we need us to pass you get a bib, whatever, put on colour. How many of you there? 16. So maybe 8 of you wear red bib there, lads. Right, so we're going to come over to this pitch over here, lads, the white pitch, alright? And make sure 8 bibs, lads, is it? Yeah. So lads, we'll be using this pitch here, okay? Oh, using this pitch. So if I have 5 defenders to that side, lads, and 4 forwards, doesn't matter, like just have 4.
Raid 4 defenders.
Yeah, raid 4 defenders, alright? So 5 raid defenders, 4 forwards. So 1, yeah, someone else. So 1 more forward at that, Ron, you stay there as defender, alright? Okay, so this side in, lads, we should have 4 defenders and 3 forwards, yeah?
Need one more.
Okay, so the non-bibs have a spare man here, alright? And the raids have a spare man here, okay? Now, lads, obviously, I'm assuming you're warmed up. So, this is just a small-sided game. If you've more numbers than 16, you'd obviously set up 2 small-sided games like this. This is just getting used to that there's next defender at one side and a forward at that side. Now, lads, the name of the game is going to be to run it through the poles. Not take a shot for goal, run it through the poles. This gets fellas used to, lads, running at the sweeper, or there's a spare man. So if the sweeper can just stay in behind a small bit, alright? So Kieran, Rowan, everyone is smart. So we have the 2 sweepers there, right? So again, whatever length of time we want, we're going to go for about 90 seconds. If you get a score, you run it through the poles, you drop it down, and the team give it over to the opposite team, okay? So raise the playing out that way, alright? Let's go. Alright, take it out of your hands, get it in play again. So you have to run it through, get him used to taking them on, alright? Leave it. Alright, goal, alright. On this one. I'm going to change now in about 30 seconds, lads. So you have to get up ahead of steam, lads. No! Okay, lads. Yeah, you show me. Here, you show me the ball there. Yeah. Okay, so what you can see there is happening, lads. Because we're not going for points, there's a lot of crowding at one side. So for this, lads, so start off the 5 and 4 and the 4v3 again. You have to stay in your half of the field, all right? So you can't cross the halfway line here. You can't cross the halfway line here, all right? That's just going to create a bit more space, lads, at both sides, just an idea, all right? So you end up scoring more goals. And what will happen with some of these games, especially small-sided games, I've found everyone crowds back at one side if you're not going for points, all right? If you're going for points, it's fine, because you can score points from anywhere, but there's no point having a small-sided game like this so fellas can go for points, because it's going to defeat the purpose of the game, because they're just going to hit the ball over from their own, from the goals or their own inline, all right? So you have to stay in your side of the pitch, lads, okay? So you have to deliver then, and obviously you get this fair man and the idea of that, okay? Right, let's go. So can't cross the halfway line. There'll be more space now. Deliver now, deliver, lads. Don't cross the halfway line. Deliver. Bring it. Taking a bit better space there, lads. Come back. Run it. If you need. One goal, lads. Go on. Time. Don't fight. Cut. Look back. There. Go, Monkey! Yeah. Monkey back. Yeah, Ogie, pop it. Back, yeah. Alright, just bring it in there again, lads. Okay, good stuff. So lads, you can see from that game, like, would you all agree the second game worked an awful lot better? Okay, so like that, I think that's the trick with small-sided games, lads, is that you have to put conditions on them to save everyone getting sucked into one side or something like that, okay? Like doing that drill, even though like obviously the pitch is a lot smaller and stuff, they're getting used to, we have an extra defender with us, okay? That means everyone else can be really tight to their man. We know there's someone in behind, we can be aggressive attacking the ball, and at both sides, and forwards are getting used to, lads, right, we're a man down here, okay? They have an extra defender, what can we do, how can we be creative? If a forward gets the ball, you need to be supporting him at all times, alright? So that would be a drill I would use, okay, to get fellas used to playing with the sweeper. And again, there's the 16 lads here, you can easily set up a second pitch or more if you wanted it. You can make it 3v2 or 4v3, okay, you could have 4 or 5 pitches set up, whatever way you want to do it, alright? So that's a small sided game I would introduce before we go into the a larger game then, okay? Any questions on any of that, lads?
Do you ever look at movement in a small-sided game in terms of creating space? Or are you more
I would,
for
yeah. No, I'm moving on to creating space afterwards. So yeah, but that's important too. How fellas are creating space. And the last part of what I'll be doing, lads, is what should the inside forwards be doing against the sweeper, okay? And what should the forwards be doing against the sweeper, okay? I know this is obviously a bit unrealistic. It's so small, but that's the whole point. You're getting used to it, and then we're going to go into the larger game after that. All right? That's a very good point. There's no point, lads, unless the movement is good inside. even if it's 6 defenders against 5, whatever, the defenders are going to have a big advantage unless the movement is good. Okay, and that's reality. That's the reality of it. Okay. Me, obviously, I played a lot, nearly all my career as a cornerback, fullback. The best players, lads, have the best movement, okay? And they don't have to be the quickest, all right? They don't have to work the hardest, even, I would say. No, it's changed nowadays, maybe, but it's the 3 or 4 yards moving left and right, lads, and I'll be talking about that later, how they create space every time, all right? Patrick Horgan is a brilliant example of that, lads. He's not running fellas into the ground at one side of the pitch, yet how often have you seen the defender come out first to the ball with him? He always seems to get a yard, and that's because his feet are so good, all right? So we're going to transition that into a larger game over here, and I'll just explain what's going on. Right, lads, you just come in here, so I'll just explain what I'm doing, okay? Yeah. Right. So I'm going to set up 6 backs against 5 forwards at this. So as you kind of would normally, say from the 50-yard in, okay? So who's going to go as a sweeper? Well, so yeah, Kieran, alright. Now, so what I've set up here, lads, now because we've only 16, you could do it with a full pitch. I'm setting up half a pitch. There's 4 yellow cones there, alright? As I was speaking about the pass score, that's the no-go delivery zone, alright? A good player, lads, and most of the time the sweeper is going to be a good player, is going to be able to cover that area, okay? So, when you're playing a match, whatever, it doesn't matter what age group it is, lads, if the ball is hit into that delivery zone, deduct the point at the end, okay? It's a good idea to do it in training so that they get used to not hitting it there. At the other side, we're going to have 6v5 here, with numbers in, so that's 11. So we're going to have around 3v2 at that side. And again, you have your no-go zone. So you don't have the perfect numbers, lads. You don't have the 15v15 to make this concept work, all right? So I want, as I said, lads, 6 backs and 5 forwards at that side, and 3 backs and 2 forwards, I say. That's what that's at this side, is it? Now, lads, again, you stay in your own half the pitch for this, okay?
In the square.
No, you're not. You're playing full pitch, right? So the square is the no-hit zone, alright? So lads, you're not in the square, everyone's spread out. Oh, the sweeper should be the only fella in the square. So 3 in the full, 2 in the full forward line, and 3 out here. Austin, you come out here.
Yeah.
Steve, you come out. Lads, you come out the square there. Rowan, you come out the wing forward. No, it's not, lads. You're playing full width of the pitch, alright? Rowan, you come out here as a half forward as well. Yeah. So, just come in here a second, lads. I'll just talk you through what I'm going to do here, alright? So, lads, you can stay there, you're fine. Like, so this is going to be the setup, alright? So, that's your no-go delivery zone, yellow. Now, we're playing full pitch with, you're normally going to have 2 players inside, okay? 2 defenders, 2 forwards, and then 3 half forwards, and then obviously the sweeper is there as well. As I said, if you don't have the numbers, we're doing the same thing over this side, except we only have 2 forwards, 2 backs, because we've only 3, and we have a sweeper in there. So lads, the name of the game, alright? When you're delivering the ball from that side, and you stay at that side, you can't hit into the yellow box. That's where the sweeper is going, alright? Forward, you try and run it through the goal. Lads, you can take on a shot for goal at that side and someone poke it out then. Okay? So, lads, you can't get the ball inside the yellow box. Alright? So you're going to start by delivery it down here. Now, lads, inside, we should see a lot of movement. Okay? 2 inside forward. You just deliver the ball, we hit it, yeah. Don't hit it in delivery zone now. So goal zone. Well, now we go for points as well, actually, lads. Yeah. Kieran, you poke out the ball. So Kieran, you're delivering now this side, some movement now, lads. Say points only. And you're playing the match as normal, lads, only you have the condition on the inside up, alright? That's on your back fronted. Now that's the point deducted, okay? Now it's into the sweeper, into the delivery zone. That's the point deducted. Hang on. Take her score for time, take her score for time. Right, so again, yeah. Right, but don't movement now, lads. We're very flat-footed, okay? A bit more movement. Let's go.
That's good dig. Big dig. On your own.
Time.
Time.
Finish, Luke, finish. Okay. Start with a puck out from there, lads. Yeah, just puck the ball. Move it now again, lads. Moving.
Yeah, right. Look up.
Force him to make the runs, lads, to the wing or inside. They can't run out the edge.
Stand.
Recycle now, recycle it.
Jimmy!
Good ball again, lads. Stay out of the free he can't get at that.
Carry boss, run. Over. Back.
Five. All right, just jogging in again there, lads. I'll give you a little break if they're off. Don't worry. Yeah, so again, lads, that's one way, particularly when you're starting out coaching to start the year or whatever, just get him used to not hitting that delivery zone, okay? Like, it doesn't matter how good your forwards are, anything like that. If you're going to deliver the ball, especially delivering ball from long, and you deliver to that area and David Spearman, he's going to sweep that up all day long, okay? All day long. Now, what are your options if you can't deliver that delivery zone, all right? Obviously, you can go to the corners, okay, or the wings, but like, you don't want to be hitting to the ball to the corners all the time, all right? You can go beyond them, all right? So you can go deliver it in straight to the edge of the square like that, or another thing, obviously, you can run. There's nothing wrong with running into that square, all right? I know he's there as a defender, but running straight at the goal, if you have up ahead of steam, he's going to be hard to stop, all right? Now, another idea, instead of having the cones there, now you can leave the cones there if you want, have the sweeper wear a bright colour that's not like the lads, different to the lads, okay? So if you have a bright pink or bright yellow or something like that, it just highlights them a bit more, so when the lads are looking up, they can see, right, that's where I don't hit the ball. I can see the sweeper there, I don't hit it to him, so I can deliver wide, I can deliver short, and so on, okay? Now, so the two fellas that are inside the full forward line are the two full backs, all right? Your starting position was kind of both wide of the goals, wasn't it? Who were the two full forwards? Yeah, so your starting position was both kind of wide of the goals, yeah? Now, what we're going to work on, and I talk about lateral movement, okay, playing against the sweeper. Now, what you did very well was depth, okay? They made the runs from inside the 13, which is extremely important as if you're playing against the sweeper, right? If you're outside in the 20 and make your runs from there, you're running into this where the sweeper is going to be, where the spare man's going to be. If you can keep your depth inside, it lengthens the pitch out. It means if I'm playing as a spare man, I have to be looking behind me. I don't have all the forwards around me like that, so I'm not sure where the forwards are. I can't see them, so it's going to be hard for me to cover both left and right, okay? Now, could I just take out the four lads that were inside there? Yeah, so just set up the way you are set up, lads. So, yeah, so you were set up like that. So they were both at the side of the goal, okay? Now, as a defender, lads, if it's 2v2, okay, that's still going to be fairly hard to defend, okay? But the problem, if you're both set up like that, like if you're making runs, lads, as forwards, okay? Unless you're running straight out the wing, if you're running across, they're kind of going to get in each other's way a bit. right? Because they're both running into the same space. They're both running across into the same space like that. Now, what I think is a good idea to use, okay, and you see, especially into county levels now, lads, they very rarely leave two inside like the way they are. They normally have one almost on the edge of the D, okay, right in the centre of the goals, and there's someone a bit further out than that. So we're just going to visualise that. So okay, so say you're staying in the 6-yard box, okay. Now you're going to come out here. Well, Sean, okay, you can go full back. All right, that's fine. You'll come out here. All right. Now, if you have the two forwards set up like that, lads, at different depths, okay. Now, first thing is, as I was saying, if you're setting up two beside each other, if I'm a corner back, I can see that corner forward over there as well. So I can see if he makes a run across me here, we can say, right, leave him off or track it, you can see the whole time, alright? Now, if you're the corner back out in front, you can't see the man behind you, okay? You can't see him. Now, if you're the full forward, he can see what run the forward in front of him makes, right? So if you make a run, so if you're moving and you run that way, you can very easily run that way in straight away. Or you can go with him if you want to, but you can see what run he's making. So you're not getting each other's way, and there's different depths as well, right? As a cornerback, as a fullback, if you've two good forwards like that who are set up directly in front of the goal, and you know they can go left and right, and you know they can shoot off the left and right, very, very hard to get out in front all the time, right? Especially if they're delivering from the platform here. If they're delivering from 80, 90 yards, it's a different story because the ball is in the air so long, right? And Eddie's going to be covering a bit more about that. That's very, very hard to defend, lads. If you're delivering the ball well and you've good movement inside, okay? Now, what does good movement look like if you're the full forward line, all right? What I would say, lads, and you see teams doing it, and the best forwards I've marked, they move roughly 10 yards left, 10 yards right maximum, okay? They don't go out to the corner flag, they're not running around all day, they're looking here, they're moving this way a bit, they're going that way, like that, and they're constantly trying to create space left and right. Some of them, they're not even really looking at the ball that often. They know, lads, the delivery is going to be one wing or the other, okay? Then, if you're the man in front and you're playing this the whole time, if you run that way, you know your man has gone the other way, right? He's watching for his run all the time, and you can interchange them, lads, they're stopping, they're watching for their run, so it's either going to be probably left or right or straight down the middle, and they're constantly jerking, all right, and moving. There's no point, lads, as a corner forward, running 30, 40 yards over and back that way the whole time. There's no point doing it, all right? 5 yards left, 5 yards right, working that in training, okay, or 10 yards left, 10 yards right, creates a load of movement. And I don't, what would your thoughts on it be, lads, if you're setting up two inside like that?
It's probably down to, I think the next level of it is the communication between the two lads, and not on the pitch, beforehand, like even in training sessions, add in. I think what's a really good one is the guy that's walking. You know, he's walking, he's not involved in the match, and suddenly the defender switches off for a second, he goes around behind him and then he's gone. And it's the quality of the run more than anything else. I think that's a really important point that Colm is making. I think a lot of us at club level have this idea that it's these runs over and back. But sometimes the most dangerous forward, and again, there's some of the Limerick lads are so good at the walk, and Hoggy is good at just walk and not involved. And then he turns left, he turns right, and the defender just switches off for a second. He loses him in his eyesight, and then he wheels and he's gone. And he is a separation then. So it's that. You have to kind of think the match over in your head a little bit, and that takes a lot of patience. It takes a good bit of work. I think Colm's point, you have to stick at it, you have to be patient with it. Maybe for a coach, does he stand in with the forwards and be kind of talking to him a little bit, hold your own, you know, that type of thing, little cues. But equally, the two boys together have to have it. An example I would use maybe is that the front lad is doing the decoy run, the lad behind is very, very inactive. He turns to almost go with him and then he chases back. And the quality of delivery then is important. The timing of the run, yeah. Sometimes even if this man is defending me, you're kind of walking, looks like it's going that way, then you're getting your separation and off you go. You've now opened up 5 yards, and that's what you're looking for. A bit of cuteness as well, okay?
And your inside man can be your inside man also, you know, your typical full forward or typical big player, that can be a ball winner too. So if this outside player makes one left and right, this lad here inside can actually just stay, and he can be a direct ball in. So you know you have the runner to come to the space, but also he can go as well. And a lot of people are focusing on this fella goes left and this fella goes right. Actually, 9 times out of 10 it's better off if the two go the same side, because more times than not this lad here will break the ball and it's the pick up in behind.
Yeah, and there are different depths then as well, like, so some fellas coming in behind, some fellas coming in front. And I
One
just
little point, Colm, if I can come in, is the noisy run. Noise attracts people, doesn't it? So if you hear lads shouting, so even that understanding between the two boys, say, we'll work at that, I'm the noisy one, yeah, shouting, and the other lad's just silently just moving back. He knows he's trying to take defenders with him. I'll move to the right, knowing that I'm going to counter my run back over here, and the quality in over the top, now I have a nice bit of space to work in. Just, it's something that you have to sit down, draw up your concepts, decide what it's going to be, bring your players involved, sit down, have that discussion, and then take it onto the pitch, review, rinse, repeat. That's the process.
Yeah, and like it's amazing. As I said, obviously I played a lot cornerback, fullback, and I remember games you marking the likes of Seamus Callan or Ara Galan or something, and you could put a 15-yard box around like that, and you mightn't have moved out of there for 10 minutes, and like you'd be there kind of mad to go, ready to go, and they're not just walking around, but they're moving one way, and you're kind of constantly tracking. They're trying to get in behind you. They're trying to get you off what you want to do, but they're not, as you say, they're not making the big, loud, noisy runs that you see forwards making. They almost look disinterested, and you know they're not, but in your head you're like, geez, man, he's having a bit of an off day today, and suddenly then they're in behind you, goal, out to the ball point, first touch, and they're moving on that way. Now they work very hard. If the defenders had the ball, they'll chase you down really hard, but when the other, like say Limerick, have the ball, they're not moving a whole pile most of the time, and all of a sudden then they go, or it's the 2 yards one way, the 3 yards the other way. All right. But as I said, lads, the best teams now, good full forwards, they can take the ball even if they're not the tallest. That high ball in behind is always on nowadays. It's kind of almost come back, that long ball to the 6-yard box, and you see Limerick use it an awful lot with Gillan. Kilkenny often put TJ Reid in there, they'll use it an awful lot. It's really come back into play, lads, because it's effectively a one-on-one the whole time inside there. And no matter how good a full-back is, if he's on those quality forwards, they are going to get joy, alright? And they don't just hit it to the corners every time, and they get runners coming through. We'll just go into that once more, lads. So they're set up the way I said it, lads. A fella in the 6-yard box and a fella in the 13.
It's all two men from forward line, though.
We'll talk to attacking and defending, so he can tell you how to defend against it. So one of you on the 6-yard box, one of you on the 13. Around midfield, about 80 yards. So lads, yeah, you're right. We'll run in front of the other one on the 6-yard box, 13, moving a bit left and right. Man outside, man outside. Outside. Yeah. Wait, good chance! Score, Mike, we're done. Back through there, sir. Who's free? You don't have anyone who's hitting him. Right away, yeah.
Get this in camera.
Born to be a goalie.
Actually, that's very cool.
So lads, just in the last one there, Nathan, he's after running in there now. He just asked me on the way out. He was like, well, how'd you defend against that so? If they can go both ways and they have that depth and stuff. It's very difficult, lads. If you can deliver from the platform, which is roughly between the 265s or thereabouts, if you're delivering from here, crossfield balls, lads, 50, 60 yard past them, it's extremely difficult to defend against, alright? Obviously you're trying to stay up with your man, you're trying to anticipate out in front, trying to have a little hold of him so he can't just be moving around wherever he wants to go the whole time. And bear in mind too, a lot of time you do have a spare man in front of you. So sometimes it's enough, just spoil the ball. Try and run out to the ball with him, try and touch his run, just spoil the ball, and hopefully your defender will come out or your half back line is deep enough that they can help you out as well, right? But if you're delivering the right ball, lads, and they're delivering it from the 65 and there's two and two inside there, if the ball is good enough, the forwards are good enough, it is very hard to deliver against that. But you have to try and do your best. Stay up with him, try and spoil the ball if you can, and hope that your spare man will be there to help you out too. Okay, if that's the scenario, but it's not always going to be the case too. All right. Do you have any more to say about that, lads? That's pretty much what I was going to cover.
Any questions?
Yeah. Do you have any questions, lads?
And obviously you can take the two lads can take the answers as well. I don't have all the answers either.
Yeah. Just one question there. So if the sweeper is highly effective, if there's a good sweeper in place in the opposition, he's highly effective. You talked about bringing the corner forward out to midfield to try to counter it, whatever. Is it ever an option to put the corner forward on the sweeper and create a 2v1 there? How effective is that?
Yeah, it obviously is an option. Now, the thing about it I would say is that you're basically taking the corner forward is going to mark the sweeper, so his man is going to end up being a spare man if you had that scenario. But that corner forward basically isn't moving at all inside. If his job is to mark the sweeper, as you're saying, he effectively then you have a one-man full forward line, because he's the fella going to be doing all the movement. If I'm marking the sweeper, I'm not going to be trying to move at all, because I was told to mark the sweeper, so I'm going to try and keep him out of the game. Whereas it's almost, in my opinion, a waste of having a forward there then, because he's not able to get on the ball. Now, like, why is the sweeper extremely effective? Like, yeah, it's probably a lot of time it's the delivery, you're hitting them the ball. I know they can be a very good player, and if the cornerbacks are playing to the sweeper a lot, like, sometimes if you're set up properly that way, the sweeper's going to play a lot of ball, but it mightn't be a bad thing to your team. That's what a lot of teams have done, say, geez, you can't leave Tip who has a Paddy Maher free or Ty DeBorka, don't leave him free. But what teams discovered in, I think, if you mark the sweeper, you're effectively taking that corner forward out of the game, and they still have a spare man, and if the sweeper's a very good hurler, he's probably still going to play a bit of ball anyway. So I think you're going from having 5 forwards to basically having 4 forwards, where the fella marking the sweeper is going to be completely ineffective. Realistically, I don't know what your thoughts.
The purpose of it is that if you have an extra man out the field, you're going to carry the ball and try work your little pods to get shots off. So ideally, you want to draw him out of that position. Or alternatively, your 2 guys inside have to be ready to address the situation in terms of, if they see that delivery and they judge the flight and go, that's short, he has it. One of them is almost heading close to him. They're staying within his territory, that if that ball is delivered and it's not the perfect ball, one of them is not leaving him uncontested taking that ball out. You have to be ready to work. I think that's the key to it. We all want the scenario where the brilliant ball is delivered to the boys inside and they take out your sweeper. That mightn't be achievable at club level, but the 2 boys inside have to be on the move a little bit, because the RRR of the situation is, if it's not a good ball, what's next? Or I have to go and work. So it's being able to deal with the imperfect, the not perfect situation.
The other scenario, just go back to your question as well, you can. So basically you can play your 2 lads inside, you can bring out one of your inside forwards and play him on the edge of the D and pick that sweeper, right? So he's picking up, but he's not marking the sweeper. He's playing his game, right? And he's just covering that space in front of him that he's not, because at the end of the day, at club level, you're 6, and every team is going to put their best player at 6 that can get ball, take puck outs, deliver puck outs, carry it. So you don't want him getting every single puck out. So you can engage that area there and still leave your 2 inside. But it means that you have no extra man back here. You're pushing up with a man here. You're just putting pressure on them up here then, and you're still leaving your space. Now, they do have, they'll have their corner back free then, right? Who's a free man. But generally, corner backs, and no disrespect to corner backs here now, lads, right? Generally, sorry Colm, right? Generally, right, the corner backs wouldn't be as good at delivering the ball as, and you can identify a corner back and say, listen, he's the worst deliverer of the ball, isolate him, leave him loose, put the corner forward out, but not get away from the fact of he's marking the sweeper. He's not marking the sweeper. He's playing his game. Do you know what I mean? And he's covering him behind. And now suddenly the sweeper is engaged by him. Do you know what I mean? That's the difference. You know, that's
There's two things, from play, from general play, or from restart. So from restarts, one of the forwards is taking the good sweeper, or at club level, the quality fella that they want to maybe isolate and get him free. So he's maybe stepping up on him and leaving your lame deer loose. Okay, understand the concept.
Like, quarterback is going to follow. Quarterback is going to follow the corner forward.
Then you have two players on one.
Still going to want to get 6 free. Like.
Perfect. But you have to make sure, if you're resetting against their puck out, right, and the puck out's there, you want to make sure, right, there's 6 forwards or 7 defenders. So the 6 forwards pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and leave them worse than free. Right?
Quick example, in 2004 we played Clare in Croke Park, and Anthony Daly brought back Alan Markham, and he absolutely broke our hearts that day as a 7th defender. We'd never seen it before. All 6 other defenders touched tight on their men, and we just could not figure this out. Got out of it the luck of God and got down to Thurles for replay. The second day, what Brian Cody done or someone done, came up with the idea that Jerry O'Grady is a man marker and just picked out one of them. Brian Quinn was probably the same in the other corner. Martin Comerford went in 13 and tracked Markham, and sure Jerry O'Grady went with him because his detail was you're on him, you're on him, you're on him. So it was just a counter to it. So there's never a book of answers we can give you, but you have to be able to think on your feet and think about these things and say, what can we do to counter that? As a result, then we had a whole flank of the defence, 4 and 7 completely free to work in. So it's just an example of something you do. You have to be a little bit creative yourself.
And just one thing I'll say for sure, lads, if you don't train or practice playing with a spare man and playing against a spare man, no matter who the sweeper is, you're going to make him look like an all-star. Because that ball, you're not going to be looking up playing the ball, and that's the default position. And a good centre-back will know, right, I can see this side, he's not looking up, he's hitting the ball, that's going straight down the wing, and he's there collecting it up straight away. So if you don't train against it, you're going to make the sweeper look like an all-star every time.
And the last point I'll throw in on this is, I was up at the World Cup final a few years ago in Portlaoise, and both Wexford and Galway played with an extra defender, both of them had a sweeper. What was happening then in the 2-man full forward line was that the sweeper was kind of drifting to either the 2 or the 4 a little bit, making himself quite visible. So then his other 2 in the full back line can kind of play the front on the far side. So it's the mathematics of it too. It's knowing that my extra man, so sometimes, and again Colm touched on it there, good teams will find a way to go around the sweeper that hovers in the middle. They'll deliver quality. But sometimes then to counter that, what defenders will do is say, listen, you know what, I'm going out here in the 2 corner. They make themselves very visible, and you're looking down the field going, geez, we can't go into that corner. Now it's 50-50s to the other side. And the defender's brief is touch tight, because the insurance policy is behind me. Do you understand that? So that's just the little, Everton will have an extension. There's no hard and fast rules that defenders or forwards are going to walk into your traps.
How deep were your half forward line coming when that setup was in place to create the space for the 2 inside, but to counter
65 definitely, yeah, like almost
not inside.
I think you want the presence around centre forward, like maybe he isn't going quite as deep, but he's probably around the 65, and the half forwards, like they can be coming back to midfield around that area. But the key with the half forwards, and you see Limerick are the best example of it, Garrod Hager will be back in the half back line a lot of time, but then when they're attacking, he's fucking bombing forward. They're bombing forward from midfield. He's still finishing with 4 or 5 points in play, even though he's playing a lot of his game back here, because when they're attacking, he's support and he's running hard to make their run. So they have to be running back and forward.
When you bring it back to this level though, like, because realistically we're not going to get a player who's going to run that for,
but
you know.
I would say around the 65s midfield area, like still being able to support the attackers, definitely.
And as a half back then, do you hold your line or do you go that far? Because if you go that far, look at the amount of space that's behind you.
That's probably the hardest question to answer.
Colm's point comes back, everything comes back to what you do in training, and I'll touch on it here, but sitting down, having a discussion about how you want to set up and then execute that as you go forward, because that's a huge point. You can't just turn around to a guy and go, hey, you're sweeper today. What? Well, I don't do sweeper, I play cornerback. And that's the issue, because then it's a failure in coaching circumstances.
To answer your question there, right? How far does the wing back go? So you talking about from a puck out scenario from here, say?
Or in general play.
Right, we'll say we'll just go to a puck out scenario. So say the puck out's going from this side here, down top of this wing forward here, and this is your wing forward up here, or wing back up here, right? Yeah. So basically, how far the opposition's wing forward is coming back the field to get to the breaking ball here. So really, what determines that is that if your midfielder gets in front of the break and can cover that man, he tracks him so far and then has to stop. Your wing back can't be down here in the opposition's half forward line. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Unless it's a puck out from this side and he makes a run, but then he has to track him. That's fair enough. But in general play, your midfielder, your wing back will come as far as kind of midfieldish, or you know what I mean. But he has to read the game. Again, there's no set. Go this far and stop. No, you can't go past that 65. Do you know what I mean? You have to play the game in front of you, really. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's all about communication. Ball being puffed out, midfielder's across. He knows though that wing back knows he's covered. I can sit back. The centre forward is coming across right here. The wing back might cover cover the centre forward, and then the 6 sits. So we're just coming down. One comes in, midfielder comes in, and we're kind of all in that triangle of movement. And then the 6 realize, hey, cover him. Then he goes back into the pocket. Happy days. And next in the game, adjust. Then the wing forward comes back up, and we all readjust again. So it's communication.
Someone there, kind of touch on the man marking. So you're playing a 7 defender. Like, are you saying strictly you have one sweeper and he never marks? So you're never switching your 7 defender sweeper. So like, we'll say a cornerback, corner forward takes the cornerback and a run 70 yards across the pitch. Sweeper's in the middle. Cornerback's left for dead. Are you expecting your sweeper then to push and mark? Are you always saying the sweeper should never mark or always be free?
Again now, right? Play the game in front of you. Play the game in front of you. Like, Colm, you were going to answer that?
Does he mark? Because then you end up with 3 different sweepers, cornerbacks, like I didn't fancy it, he left me for dead. Like.
It depends on the brief. It depends what's agreed beforehand and what your specific job. If you're a man marking job, Colm is tracking me, that's it. That's his brief for the day until he's told different. It's up to the smart guy then, who's identified as the sweeper. My specific role is shut him down. Yeah. But then the sweeper has to communicate that issue. There might be a situation where you detach from him, and for one play, you just take him. If you read the situation and he's coming into your turf and you have it, that's grand, you take it. But it's to reassess quickly. Communication is massive. And I think a lot of teams, defenders aren't talking enough. Go, stay, your man, take him. You know, this type of thing, that if I'm the sweeper, I get to see what's happening in front of me. So cue the lads around you. Yeah. Say, attack that ball hard. Them are the little cues that you need. If it breaks, he's hovering for the break. As Colm said, sometimes you're just going in there to just balk him and get him away, kick it over to your spare man, and that's your job.
Like, just say the sweeper gets a ball, breaks out, or given a hand pass from midfielder, breaks through, puts the ball over the bar, carries the ball through midfield, puts it over the bar, right? That goalie's not going to wait and say, listen, I'll wait now till he goes back in and go sweeper. We'll be fine now for a couple minutes there, right? So basically what happens then is the midfielder goes, I'm covering here, and the sweeper comes back into the middle of the field, he's spare. And you reset then in the game. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, it's just kind of like sometimes I've been in teams and players like, they're left for dead, and they're like, you should have covered the men, not just the space, like, do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you have a positive management, have to tell you exactly what play to play that. Like.
There are scenarios that, as Colm says, if you practice in training, them scenarios will come out of training, right? And then you discuss and say, lads, how can we improve that, or what can we do when that happens in the game? And you discuss it, and next thing, in games, you're not looking over the line, because if a player's looking over the line, lads, it's over. Inside the white lines, you have to figure it out. Do you know what I mean? So that's what training's for, is to get them scenarios through training.
All right.